Hi everyone! Sending LinkedIn connection requests can be quite time consuming, especially if you're looking to add a personal note to increase the response rate. In this video, I will be showing how you can expand your LinkedIn network on autopilot. The automation will be crafting custom messages based on the recent user posts or user profile if posts are unavailable, and then sending the invitation request with custom message to your desired audience that you can find by a certain query. All automated. I must say, this automation was inspired by Benedict Zykas from Relevance AI. His automation is available on relevance.ai website, where you can play with it. I wanted to take this automation to the next level, to adjust the prompts and make it work daily, as well as send the messages for me. This workflow can be expanded to a much broader extent, especially if you're looking to reach out to your LinkedIn network after connecting with a new person. You can pretty much draft custom messages to all your connections based on their previous updates on LinkedIn. The system should significantly decrease the boring monkey job sales reps needs to do before reaching out. I speak about this because I used to do this before. And if you're an experienced sales expert that closes big checks, this is the last thing you really want to be doing on a daily basis. And please like and share and subscribe to my channel, as this automation took a lot of time to develop. Let's dive in to see how this can be automated with AI assistants, leaving us room for warm leads and client meetings. Alright, let's actually take a look how the automation works. So first of all, we're going to be searching different profiles on LinkedIn, and we're going to be scraping their URLs later on to scrape the information from those profiles, basically their background, headline, experience, education, and more of that. Then we're going to use another actor from the Rapid API that will allow us to scrape their recent posts. And after that, we have two lines of automations. Basically, one saying if there are recent posts, we're going to be taking these posts into consideration for our welcome message. And basically, it's going to analyze what you've recently posted or reshared, and we'll create a welcome message based on that. And the final actor is going to send that message from our LinkedIn profile. And another line was going to say if a LinkedIn member doesn't have any posts, that in that case, it's going to scrape their profile with their experience, education, and everything they got, and create a welcome message based on this information, right? We want this message to be 200 characters long because that's what is allowed. If the message is going to be longer or bigger, it will not allow to send a connection request and basically send a note with the connection request. What is important here, we're using many different integrations and API endpoints. We're using different API actors. We're using Nubella for LinkedIn profile scraping, and we're using also another API endpoint from the Rapid API to get the data on the recent post. So if you find this video helpful and you like it, please subscribe to my channel and hit the like button so that you can see more of these videos. I did put a lot of effort in this automation. I hope you find it helpful. All right, so let's take a look how the whole process works in more of a detail. So here we're using BabyT LinkedIn Premium Actor, and the JSON input that we need to pass is basically the following. We need to search by profiles by a certain query. In my case, it's going to be searching by query AI. That could be any other query you can think about. It could be HR or people interested in certain things, but we would usually be focusing on keywords, so we can go with finance, blockchain, and etc. Then I set a limit to 2 URLs you're planning to scrape. In my case, I set it to 2, but we're going to do it in a bulk at the end of this automation just to see how the results are working. In fact, there is important point. So in my case, I will be basically getting, in my case right now, 2 URLs, but you have to keep in mind that on LinkedIn, you have a cap on how many connection requests you can send per day, and that's approximately 20. But the limits that they have is basically per week. So it's from 100 to 200 per week. So on average, it's about 20 per day. And in my case, if you're going to be limiting or doing, for example, scraping for 20 or 50 or 100 of URLs, you might end up in exceeding these limits. If you're exceeding these limits and LinkedIn algorithm is going to be bumped and saying that, hey, there is a suspicious activity in your profile, you might be banned or your account might be suspended for spam activity. So make sure you do not exceed the limits. But in any case, that is much better than sending it manually. And the last is basically location, and we set it to any location we want. We can also leave it empty if we don't care. But in my case, I chose USA. You run an actor, and here I have another block for tools to sleep for 3 seconds. And essentially what is important here, if you set it to run synchronously to yes, then once this actor finishes its run, it's going to pass us to the next actor, which is get the dataset items. because once we have run an actor, we won't then retrieve the information and gather it. But I said this just for the case of security, right? If for whatever reason the database items have not been updated since the last run, then we waited for 3 seconds and then basically run this actor. So this actor, what it does, it's very simple. It just gets the default dataset ID. That's probably this one, and referring to the last run of your actor of what kind of information it gathered. So that's what happens there. And then we go to the next one, which is scraping profiles. This actor I got from Nubella. It's actually, the company is called Proxy Curl. That's probably the name by Nubella. And basically what they allow, they have created and LinkedIn scraper that you can use, and you can use their API. You've got some credit free of charge that you can test it on, and basically you can get pretty decent amount of information. And I would say the quality of information is a little bit better than I found on Apify. So if you compare between the different actors, probably this one would provide you with the better return in terms of quality of information. The rest, we need to parse responses. What is important, I said there, ignore block. And the reason for that is sometimes people's names have different notations. So instead of like word C or whatever, you would have C with a tick or something like that. This is mainly relevant to a local language, or the person's name is notated in the local language and they put it on LinkedIn. It's not in kind of English. So in that case, I found that my scraper actually failed, just because it can pass those different notations. It can work just with the English language. And in that case, I would need to substitute those letters with the normal letters, and that will be much more difficult to make in that case. So what I decided to do instead, if there is such a person in my case right now, it would just ignore that person and we'll move forward to the next one. Of course, if you would build it for yourself on a daily basis, you would probably want to substitute those characters. So that's in a plain text in English, so that you can work with this scraping actor in such case. So the next one is scraping posts, and for this one I'm using the rapidapi.com website. So Rapid API is very similar to API.com. It's basically a bunch of different API endpoints that you can access, you can play with, and you can test them, and if you like them, you can rent them and actually pay a monthly subscription or pay per usage and access the API endpoint. Rapid API is for that, and here I found another actor, which is fresh LinkedIn profile data, and here you can get different API endpoints for getting personal profile, personal post, detect activity, etc. So in my case, I will be using a get method. I will be passing the person's URL, and I will be getting that person's post in the JSON format. And again, I want to parse responses so that I can work with them later. So the next is basically a router to split two lines, and the first line will work with the posts, and if there are no posts, then we're going to work with the profile data. And here basically what I have is I have created the array of the posts. If the array of the posts is more than one, it means that there were sort of at least some recent posts. Then we're going to work with the posts. If there are no such posts, in that case that there is another filter, less than 1 means 0, then we're going to work with the profile data. What we're going to do is we're going to extract just 10 latest posts, because for the scraping post actor here, we're getting, I don't remember how many, but we are getting more than 10 posts for sure. So we can be getting like 20 or 30 posts, and we probably don't need that much of a data. And if we're going to be putting that much of a data to our large language model, it's going to just break, or, well, it probably won't break, but it might miss some important information. So instead, what we want to do is we want to limit this thing to just the latest 15 posts. And if there are less posts, that's also fine. There will be the latest 10 posts, and we want to sort them in a certain order, from basically sorting them by date when they were published, right? So the more recent posts will appear on the top, and more latest posts will be in the bottom. The next modules are basically create a ChatGPT completion, and we're using mini model, and there will be a simple user request. What we're doing here, we're trying to kind of split, so to say, the posts that were reshared by a person, and if they were reshared by a person not posted, then we're gonna format them in a certain way. Because whenever we're gonna be passing that information to large language model, we wanna make sure whichever posts were reshared and whichever posts were originally created by that person. Because sometimes you would just keen on resharing stuff that you find exciting, but whenever you post it yourself, you probably think about it more personally. And that's why if there are posts that people were posting themselves instead of resharing, we want to focus on these posts primarily. This one is the first module is really kind of finding the posts that were reshared or posted by a person. So here now we have those posts from that person. So here are the things that you need to follow. We need to review the post focusing on the following things: the experience, skills, and achievements for personalized outreach. We need to prioritize recent posts, but also consider past posts that are more relevant. So basically we'll pass all that information to this module. And here we come with some different rules and make sure to differentiate between the person shared and reshared posts. And here we have 3 examples of a person might have reshared somebody's post with a personal note. We might have a post that a person have reshared without any comments. And then the final one is the original post by that person. So next is another block to emphasize specifically if the posts were reshared. Then we basically say we need exact phrase reshared without any additional comment. We want this phrase to be included for our large language model so it has enough context to understand what was original, what was not. Maintain a friendly and interested tone. Use factual and logical language to avoid using emotional descriptors. And we got a lot of other rules here. And by the way, these rules were partially in these prompts were taken from Benedict let me go to Benedict Zeitges, and he has this actor published on the relevance.ai website, so you can go and find it. And you can find some of these prompts also here and read them through. So I've literally taken these prompts, adjusted them a little bit to my scenario to actually work in this regard. And what is important, in your conclusion, briefly mention the source of the LinkedIn data and quote where you derived the instance. If there are no relevant data, it will need to say no relevant data available on LinkedIn due to certain reason. And in that case, we'll be crafting just general LinkedIn message. So the next one is basically, hey, so those are the LinkedIn posts that we just edited from the previous actors, and based on the above content, it has to create a message. And to create a message, basically there are things to follow, and there are different rules that we say, oh, hey, there's the format to keep. You always need to start with hi name, and your post should not exceed the limit of 200 characters. Then you have another rule that you need to use the context above to personalize the connection request. There are different steps, and we also prompt it to think step by step. So this is called chain of thought prompting, so that the large language model doesn't forget any instructions, but actually focus on a specific thing at a certain time. So you can read this prompt yourself in more detail, but basically here we have different rules, and we say, hey, there are 4 weeks window that are important. If there are posts that are more than 4 weeks that are less important, you have to understand that. In your message, don't be salesy, be interested. You're not booking an appointment, you're just sending a connection request. So we are trying to give as much context as possible to this actor, so that it provides the really kind of chilly message to connect with a person. So rule 7, don't be too formal, don't be repetitive, think about different connection requests, avoid saying a random mix of things in one message. And by the way, it needs to be different, just because for LinkedIn algorithm, that's also a better idea. If your messages are different, you're not just spamming every single text to everyone, but your messages are unique. So in that case, we are kind of avoiding, or at least lowering the probability of ending up in a spam filter for LinkedIn. Rule 9, avoid sending a random mix of things in one message. And rule 10, if the text contains insights about open positions, do not focus on them. Avoid sounding like you're looking for a job. So that's not what we're talking about, because if that's going to be the case, people are usually kind of don't want to continue talking to you because you're just, hey, there is an open position and you can apply, and we're not looking to do that. We're looking to get new leads or clients or connections. So we're looking to end up with a higher closing rates, or so to say, for our connection request. The last module that I've added, just in case the message is longer than 200 characters. And as we've seen in the previous example, there were a lot of instructions for our actor. We want to make sure it doesn't exceed the limit. And because there were a lot of instructions, it might just forget the specific rule. So that is the case with the bigger prompts. It might omit some of the rules that you have provided just because it's a lot of context for it. So in that case, I wanted to prompt it again. Just if there is a message that exceeds 200 characters, make it shorter. Drop a few sentences, but keep the main idea. Do not paraphrase. And if the message is less than 200 characters, just keep it. So, and the last thing is basically when I connect to another actor, which is Network LinkedIn Batch Connection actor, to which you need to pass, of course, your LinkedIn cookies, because they're going to be using your LinkedIn profile. And here you would need to send a URL of a specific person that we just scraped by a certain query. And second is we need to send that message that we just arrived to. So here is another line for the posts, right? So for the posts, what I did is I created the description for my company and I gave the context what we are doing in my company. And then basically I scrape the profile and I send this data to ChatGPT to actually understand. So here's my product and service, here's his profile. Here's a lot of information that you need to take into consideration. And based on the LinkedIn profiles and my company data, you have to come up with the custom message. And this is basically what it says. Here is another user says, this is the LinkedIn profile, the format and the way we want it. And this is my company data. So come up with a message. And the next thing is, hey, this is the scraped profile that we just did with all those things. And here are the rules for the message. So in a sense, hey, this is the information from the profile. This is the way to reformat the information for a large language model. And here we basically the instructions for creating a certain message based on that data. And the last one is basically the same as before, just to make it 200 characters long so that it doesn't exceed it. Because if it exceeds the message, it won't send the message essentially. So that's how it works. Let's actually take a look what we can do. Instead of like 2, let's do 20 contacts per day. I've did a few tests today, but hopefully that works just fine. And let's actually run an actor and see how that works. So first we're scraping URLs with our actor, and let's actually take a look how that works. So we go there and we can see that it's running. And let's see if we get any tangible results out of it. I can see that something is going on, but we just don't see any ending up, just because we're about 20 profiles, so we need a little bit more. All right, so what just happened, we just finished scraping the data for 20 people, and I'm go for 20 just to not get banned by LinkedIn. And here we can see the people that it just scraped. So there is Ziad El-Jabari, Chief AI Officer, Chris Nolan, a technology specialist, Viren Gujral, founder and CEO at MIT, a certificate, Jason Katz, and other people that we can see. And again, this is based on my LinkedIn connection request. If you're gonna scrape that information feeding your cookies, you would certainly get different people. So let's get back to see what actually happening there. So we are scraping profiles, and we already did this for a couple of people. So let's actually take a look how that works. So the first person we were looking to scrape was Ziad El-Jabari, and we can basically see that we have scraped the summary, there's headline, there is occupation. We can actually see his experiences that he got. We can see his education and all that information for that person, which is great. The next one is basically we're scraping the post of that person, and let's take a look if there are any posts from that person. There are actually more than 30 posts that we found, and here we can see, all right, so this post is reshared equal to true. It means that person has reshared. That post probably won't be that interesting. Then we get another reshared post. Then we have another reshared post, and this post was made by that person, which is Ziad El-Jabari actually. So, and here we can see the post. It's probably in different language. I'm not familiar with it, but we can also see that it was posted two months ago. So for each person, as we can see, 2 operations for each person, we will be scraping that information. And yes, it's a little bit slow just because it has a lot of instructions to follow in each node. So we can see that for both people that we have scraped, the second was actually, let's take a look. The second was Chris Nolan. For Chris Nolan, we also scraped the LinkedIn post. Let's actually take a look if there are any posts from Nolan. Yeah, there are 50 posts from Nolan. There are a lot of posts. And here we can actually find the 15 posts. I don't know why it was called 10 posts. I called it 10 posts, but it's actually 15 posts that we're scraping. And this was also in the instructions here. And same goes to second Chris Nolan. We also got 15 posts. And if we look at the time, for example, this was posted 8 hours ago. This was posted 2 days ago. This was posted 5 days ago, and the last post was posted 1 month ago. So this person has been quite active on LinkedIn, which is great, which means that whenever we're going to be sending him a welcome message, the message will be kind of up to date with the recent news that a person was going through. So the next is basically we're saying, hey, shared this post 1 week ago. So there's the result. The original post was not created. It was reshared. Then we go, for example, here we can see so recently reshared and noteworthy post 1 week ago. since was a shared post was essentially verify that didn't contribute original comments or insights, indicating his potential engagement with the post isn't recorded. And then we got key insights for tailored outreach. Basically, we have different posts that it found on LinkedIn, and then we get a summary for that, and then the conclusion. After that, we can pass that information to another actor that would create a message for us. And here we can see, hi Ziad, I noticed your post about integrating AI with African talent at Azure. It's an inspiring initiative, and I value the chance to connect and share insights as we both navigate similar landscape. Pretty good. I mean, it looks like I've researched his profile, seen that he has shared some news, that I've done some projects or whatever. I got excited and I invited him to connect. It looks very decent. And if you go back to our actor here, it basically says the same thing. Hi Ziad, I noticed your post about integrating AI with African talent, and it just literally posted the same thing just because it was probably under 200 characters. All right, so let's actually take a look at somebody else. And reason for that is that I've already reached out to these people when I was testing the first two, the Chris and Ziad. And let's take, for example, this guy. Let's see, what was his name? So let's actually open his LinkedIn and let's see if we reach out to that person, if we send a connection request. So we got Viren Gujal, founder, CEO, MIT AI certificate, and robot. The person is certainly from the United States, so it's great that correctly. And here we can see there is a pending request, and the pending request means that we have already sent him a message. And here we can actually see what kind of message we sent him. Hi Viren, I saw your post about the New York Tech Meetup and Startup World Cup. Exciting opportunities. I'd like to add it to my professional network. So let's actually see if there was such a post recently. And here we go to posts, and we see I'm incredibly excited to be one of the 10 startups selected to be part of the September New York Tech Meetup hosting Startup World Cup New York City regional competition September 9th. Such a great thing. So basically it took the last post and customized messages based on that post and sent a connection request, which is pretty cool. So right, I'm not going to go through the other ones, but basically I think you understood the idea, and I stopped it right now just because it was starting notifying me that we reached the limit for today. Probably I was testing a little bit more than I should. So yeah, but the idea is the following. Every day, basically you can set it up on a daily basis so that every morning or we need to actually find out at what time kind of the limit actually resets. You can be sending those invitation requests to whatever people you find on the internet by certain query. And this can be quite a neat thing and save a lot of time, specifically if you're looking to expand your network. But also think about the following. If you are using the system, and you can scrape the profile and you can scrape the recent posts. Adding people to your network is one thing, but the next thing is once the people have been added to your network, you can actually reach out to with pretty personal messaging, basically highlighting something people have done in the recent time, shared a post or shared a comment or whatever, reshared some content, whatever. And based on that content, you will be reaching out to those people, not with the sales and pitchy messages, but pretty personalized, pretty specific thing and quite personalized. And all this thing can be automated. So you don't need to actually go deep and research every single person every time, but you can do at least the kind of initial outreach automatically. Because as I was working there and I needed to reach out to those people, this is probably the last thing you want to do. And cold outreach is very boring and very demotivating. So I really don't want to be doing this myself. I want to automate the process so it works on a daily basis. And once the people reply and they find some interest, then we can talk from there at least. So that would be, so to say, at least warmer leads rather than just sending out the cold messages to each and every one. I hope you find it helpful. It really took me some time to do this automation, but I hope this might help you guys as well. And if you like it, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. I'm looking to do more automations in the future. So to recap, crafting a personalized message is the key to getting more LinkedIn connection requests accepted. Keep it short, make it relevant, and always focus on the other person's interest. If you apply those tips, you'll start seeing a lot more responses to your outreach. In future, think about expanding the system to personal outreach when your network is big enough. Now you can draft warm messages based on the audience interest without wasting valuable time on surfing the posts or LinkedIn profiles. Think about it. If you found these insights helpful, give this video a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more tips on networking and growing your professional presence. I upload new strategies every week to help you get the most out of LinkedIn and AI automations. And if you're looking to automate content creation with LinkedIn, check out my video right here. Small automations, one step at a time, make a big difference in the long run. Drop a comment below and let me know what do you think. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.